After 3 weeks on the road, Ipswich Town return to Portman Road, looking to earn that first win of 2025 against familiar but presently formidable opponents. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Welcome to the Blue Monday Prematch show, head of Ipswich Town v Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. I'm going to say that Premier League thing as many times as I can whilst we can. Joining me tonight, he's at death's door, everyone. I know we kind of like a thumbs up out of just acknowledging Seb's hard work, but he's passed only just a late fitness test. I got him to run up and down the corridor. He's just about made it. How are you doing, buddy? You hanging in there?
Thanks for your sarcastic concern. Yes, I have man flu. Everybody, I apologise. It's not looking great, but my voice might sound a little bit more monotone than usual. But hopefully, we'll plough through and get all right. I'll be riding the mute button, so if I do start talking and there's no sound, make sure you judge me accordingly and tell me off.
Yeah, poor boy. But yeah, he's done all the hard work. We're here to talk you through Ipswich Forest on Saturday. It's a fixture we're getting very familiar with, and as Gary's put in the chat here. Evening all, we've lost and drawn against Forest. Is it our turn to win? We'll talk about predictions towards the end of the show, Seb. I've got this weird kind of football fan, weird positive vibe about Saturday. I think Gary's logic is sound. We'll talk about Forest's recent fixtures. I thought we were okay at Palace. You were there too. Do you share my sentiment, or am I just mad?
I share your sentiment. I thought we were pretty good at Palace. I thought we competed, and it's like so many games this season, you just fall slightly short in the final outcomings, don't you? I'm not as positive as you are for the weekend. That might be because I've done the research and seen some of the stats and data behind the results. So it'll make a change. If you're the positive one at the end of the show, that'll make a bit of a change, because normally it's me with the overemphasized positivity, and you're normally the one that brings everyone back down to earth. So maybe a little role at reversal this week.
We'll flip it around, shall we? G'day to Michael. Michael from Brisbane, now in Sheffield, getting ever closer. Hello to Greg in New Zealand. Charlie's here. George representing the Essex branch. Love that. Hello to Tim, my mate Tim, down on the southwest coast of very cold Plymouth. 3 points on Saturday, he says. We will do our best. We'll say g'day to everyone. Hello to Adi. See Blue Monday royalty in the Greyhound. Well, Seb and I might be there. I don't know about Blue Monday royalty, but we'll do our best. Evening to Lynn, Richard's here, Colin's here. Great to see so many. Neil, as always, lining up for a lineup quiz. Is he going to be lucky tonight, Neil? Seb?
Maybe so, yeah. I think we're going to make this a more regular feature, because I do love making you squirm. I know you hate the FPL feature, and I know you hate the lineup feature. So I think if we can bring both as a regular occurrence, that will be enjoyable for both the viewers and me.
I might retire. And I'm guessing it won't be 92, 93, which is why I'm wearing my lovely original Fison's Umbro shirt, not the recreation, folks. Not either of the recreations. It's the real McCoy. But yeah, we're not going to go there, are we? You're going to give me something stupid from like 2019 or something, aren't you? We'll find out later.
This space, everyone.
Tune in later. Bonsoir to Neil. Seabass is here. Great to have so many of you with us. Chris too. Do you want a lem sip? Lynn asks. Barocca. Get on the Barocca. 600% of your recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. I swear by that. Either just at the start of a cold to kind of suppress the symptoms, but also really good to preempt a hangover as well. So bear that in mind next time. Norman, have you got an ambulance on standby to blue light you just in case? Everyone's concerned. We've got some good bedside manner going on here. Seabass not going to disappear mid-show a la Carragus, Seb, are you? We'll find out. And George is loving the retro shirt. Great. FXT Blues, come on now. Spoiler alert, I've seen it. We lose. Bloody hell. We've not even talked you through FXT. At least let us show our working, and then we can make a judgment on it. But we'll dip in and out of the chat all night. Let us know what you're thinking. If you've got any insights on Forest. If you're a Forest fan, you're very welcome. We had quite a few nice comments about the Blue Monday Rewind show earlier in the week, which, of course, we always recommend you go and check out. But yeah, we're very welcome to get anyone's views as long as they're respectful. So do play nice in the chat. In terms of news, Seb, we are approaching an international break and we're getting some call-ups. Do you want to take us through those that have had call-ups, and do you want to speculate as to who might get one maybe later?
Yeah, so the confirmed one's done at the moment. Obviously, you've got the Republic of Ireland. They've got a playoff, I think, haven't they? They've called up Dara O'Shea and Jack Taylor. Obviously, Sammy Szmodic and Cheo Ogbene are both obviously injured, so they can't feature. Nathan Broadhead is back in the Wales squad. Wes Burns obviously misses out with his ACL problem. Ali Al-Hamadi scored last night for Stoke, got the winner against Blackburn. He's been called up to the Iraq squad. Kieran Slicker is in for Scotland as the third choice goalkeeper. George Hurst has now changed his eligibility. So he
not got a call up though, has he?
No, I think they left the paperwork too late, didn't they? And it seems the paperwork's gone in a day after the squad was announced. So I think if there is a withdrawal, they can call him up. And if not, I guess he's got an eye on the summer games. It seems strange to leave it so late and then do the paperwork 24 hours later, but that's life, I guess, isn't it? So watch this space for any withdrawals from the Scotland squad. And I guess Amari Hutchinson tomorrow probably gets a call up to the under-21s. Cameron Burgess probably gets a call up at midnight or 1 a.m., whatever time it is tonight when the Australia squad is announced. But the key one will be Thomas Tuchel's first England squad tomorrow morning announcement. Will a certain Mr. Liam Delap, with his 10 Premier League goals in a struggling side, will he make the cut? What do you think? He'll be Harry Kane to dead cert, obviously, because he's played under Thomas Tuchel. Ollie Watkins is probably the backup striker. And I guess it's one of Dom Solanke, who is starting tonight for Spurs in the Europa League, or Liam Delap. What do you think his chances are of becoming the first Ipswich player to get in the England squad since good old Richard Wright back in 2000, wasn't it?
I'm not to make myself popular, but I can't see it. I'm not. I just can't.
Really?
Yeah, okay. and because I think at least it was the case under Southgate. I think they like the players to actually progress through the groups, unless they're like a worldie. And Delap has had a brilliant season, but I think even we've seen in recent weeks still a little bit raw, isn't he? And I'm not sure those rough edges are generally accepted at international level. Given there's strength in that position, or at least two players, because I assume Tuchel's going to play one up front. He's got a bit of traffic ahead of him, but it would be great to see him in there, wouldn't it? I'd love that. Maybe a little bit soon, sadly. But what's your thought?
I think he might get in, yeah. I think he might go as the third choice. Harry Kane is the undoubted out-and-out number 9, no problem there whatsoever. Ollie Watkins will be the backup. And then you've got to remember, Dom Solanke's barely played any football.
True. Spurs might want to keep him back.
Yeah, he had an injury. He then came back in a Europa League game, but got subbed off injured. Started against Bournemouth last weekend. Has started tonight in the Europa League. But I wouldn't be that surprised, given that, is it a qualifier or is it a friendly? It's a World Cup qualifier, isn't it? Was it Nations League? I can't remember. I wouldn't be that surprised if maybe there was if Spurs were to want to keep him around for 3 weeks, given they've got designs on winning the Europa League, and in that case, Delap will be in because there's virtually no other competition. So
that's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it and say I think he might make it, and yeah, if he gets an England cap, that'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? And deserved, because like we say, 10 goals in a season of a struggling side is excellent performance.
FXT Blues giving a shout out to Marcus Rashford. I guess
not a strike. He doesn't play through the middle though, does he? I know he did it he did for Amram in his first game, but he always plays off the left. And we know Tuchel will play a 3-4-3. It's what he always plays everywhere. So Rashford might well get in the squad, but surely he'll be starting in that left-hand channel as opposed to through the middle.
Yeah, well, let's keep our fingers crossed. It'd be great. It's great for him. I think he's earned the opportunity, but I do think they like to push these players through the levels to get them that experience. And let's be honest, Tuchel doesn't feel like a gambler to me. It's not a gamble as such, is it?
It's a short-term appointment, isn't it? He's got an 18-month contract. He's got to win the World Cup, or they move on to somebody else. So I guess maybe if you've got that slightly longer-term appointment, they might have one eye on the Euros to follow, whereas it's pretty much, win or bust for Tuchel and his length of contract. So you're right, he might just go with the tried and tested.
But as Neil here says, 10 million on his transfer fee too. So that that would be good for us, I guess. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. I'd like that. I would love another name on the board. It's been a while, as you say, at Portman Road, if you've ever done the stadium tour. So we wish Liam Delap all the very best with what happens tomorrow. I think he gets an under-21 call up anyway. So him and Jaden Philogene and Amari Hutchinson, that's a nice travelling party to be with, I guess. But yeah, who knows? We'll find out tomorrow or on Friday, depending on when you'll listen to this. ITFC women, third time lucky. We're hoping a Sunday, away at Gwalia, twice postponed. Last time out 2-0. and then postpone at half-time with a dodgy pitch. Might be a bit chilly, but we're not expecting the same crappy weather, but it is your neck of the woods, a little bit south of you, but it's never great down in those parts, is it? But we wish the travelling Blue Army and Tractor Girls all the best for that one. I hope we get through 90 minutes and hope we get the win that, frankly, our dedication to that fixture merits, given that the hosts haven't managed to host it properly yet. Town off the back of a 3-0 win last weekend at AFC Wimbledon probably should have been quite comfortable. A little bit of a nervy opening, but eventually the quality told, and a couple of goals from Megan Waring and a lovely free kick, Seb, from Grace Garrett that bounced off the crossbar and up and down a few times. You love to see those, and then into the net. So Town looking to rebuild momentum after the hashtag defeat. And next time out, next weekend, is the game at Portman Road. Still on the Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff. Plymouth at Portman Road. They've already they had sold midweek 5,000 tickets. I'm sure that number has gone up. So don't delay, get your tickets. Same prices as a normal Felixstowe price on a Sunday to watch the women's team. And hopefully, as we say, an entertaining match, get the 3 points, get some goals, build the momentum for the final run in the season. I think we can say that women are in the home straight, or closing in on the home straight for their division. And hopefully some real positivity to finish the season. We hope to speak to some players next week ahead of that one. So keep a look out on our socials, and we'll probably do some kind of pre-match situation too. Finally, Seb, need to shout out our friends at ITFC Fans Supporting Foodbanks. They're back collecting in the fan zone this weekend.
Yeah, and obviously very little football in the month of March, especially now we've gone up the FA Cup, so this is the only home game for the calendar month, so it is the dedicated collection date. They'll be at the usual places around sort of the Sir Alf statue, around the fan zone from midday till about 2:30. If you go on Twitter or X to @ITFC_FSF, you will see a list of donations, non-perishable food, warm winter clothes. You can do cash donations. As we always say, it's a great cause. Please get involved if you can, because it's always great when the power of football fans come together like this.
Yeah, totally agree. And if you're a Forest fan, I think you can get involved in that too. And I think the group is always looking for volunteers and people to get involved as well. So if you can, bless you, if you can give up your time, that's the first and only one I'll do, because I'll be doing it all night otherwise. Bless you, Seb. So if you want to donate your time to the group as well, I'm sure they'll let you know how to do that. As Seb mentioned, @ITFC_FSF. We talked about internationals. We talked to ITFC Women. We talked fan supporting food banks. I think we've done the news. We're into the meat of the agenda, which is Nottingham Forest, Seb. You've written it. Craig said it. Proper cracking little club, isn't it? And lots of really excitement about what they're doing this season. It kind of, I was going to say it's like us in 2001, but they're in the top 3 places right now, and off the back of a really excellent, really important win if they've got aspirations to finish in those top 4 places last weekend. Beat us in the FA Cup, so through to the quarterfinals. What a season to be a Forest fan, eh?
Proper club, aren't they? Proper club. Klaxon that we've used a few times this season we used it for Everton, didn't we? For Villa, for Newcastle, I think, for Man United, Liverpool, obviously. And they've suddenly become everyone's kind of second favourite team because they're disrupting the natural order. That's what we like as football fans. A few years ago, we all watched Leicester win the league, and it gave us, lower league kind of sides and sides that are traditionally not involved in title races hope it could happen. And I guess Forest this year are an example of the same kind of things can happen. And in some ways, it's quite a dull season, isn't it? Because the title's done. Liverpool are going to win the league. It feels like they've been top forever. The relegation, okay, probably, let's be fair, is pretty much done. And there's no real drama at the top or bottom of the table. But the race for Champions League and the job that Forest are doing is providing the kind of entertainment going into the final week of the season. We'll talk about the result last time against Man City. And they're just not going away. I think me and Ben did the preview show back in November, if I remember rightly. And we kind of said, brilliant start, fantastic. But I presume come January, things will happen, natural order kicks in, and maybe they'll get a Europa Conference League or Europa League spot. And incredible run of form November to December that's kept them right up there, and that the running is quite favourable for them. You know, they did the hard work against Man City last week. They have got Villa to play, but 8 of the remaining 10 games are against sides in the bottom half of the table. So they must have a real eye now, and they'd almost be in a situation where they'll be disappointed if they get Europa League, given they've stayed the course for so long. So I think it's a brilliant story for a proper footballing club, and it's great to see that kind of natural order, the top 6, top 5, whatever you want to call it. It's great to see a disruptor in there, I would say.
Yeah, and we've talked about how they've established themselves. We'll probably talk more about that later on, but it does give hope. You know, they were out of the top flight for a good chunky period of time, just as we were. We kind of talked about last week about how Palace have established themselves. We often talk about Brighton and Bournemouth and that kind of stuff, but actually a club like Forest, who have that history and that success, are the kind of clubs that you want to see up there, isn't it? And the fact they've broken in, they've probably done it in a way that isn't particularly exciting or perceived to be particularly sexy. We'll talk about the passing and possession stats. You and I were talking before we came on air that prior to a bit of a goal fest spell, the results were very binary. There were kind of 1-0s, no, 0-0s, 1-0s. We know to our cost how effective they are at the City ground earlier in the season, and that 1-0 off a penalty, wasn't it, Chris Wood? But they are brutally efficient, and Chris Wood's having a great season. Other players around him also, and that back line and Sales in goal is just keeping everything out. So Nuno's established a way of playing that is getting them results, and thankfully for them too, everyone around them seems a bit dysfunctional too. Chelsea, Spurs, Man City, Man United. They've kind of stumbled across a sort of a strategy at just the right time to get themselves up there, aren't they? And that consistency is really working out for them. Give us the stats, Seb, the state of play.
So they're currently sat third on 51 points, played 28, won 15, drawn 6, lost 7, scored 45 goals, conceded 33. They're 4 points behind Arsenal in second, so it's not out of the question. They could well finish second behind Liverpool and be Premier League runners-up this season, given the funk that Arsenal seem to find themselves in with their kind of goal-scoring issues in the league. They are currently 4 points clear of Newcastle in sixth, so it's looking like the top 5 in the Premier League will get Champions League football next season. So they have got an ever so little buffer between them and Newcastle. That's why last week's victory over Man City was crucial. They have actually got Chelsea at the City ground on the last day of the season. Chelsea are right behind them, so that could potentially be a big one. Last 5 overall form is 2 wins, the Man City result last time out, and a 7-0 victory over Brighton, 1 draw and 0-0 against Arsenal, and 2 defeats against Newcastle and Fulham. In terms of their away form, again, it's strong. 5th in the away form table with 23 points. Played 14, they've won half of them, won 7, drawn 2, lost 5, scored 22, conceded 23, and they have actually lost their last 3 away on the road, which gives us a little bit of encouragement going into the weekend. They're the only side in the top half of the table, of the away table, with a negative goal difference, and their last 5 away is a couple of wins, Wolves and Everton, but those 3 defeats, Forest, Fulham, and Bournemouth was a 5-0 defeat. So, sorry.
They're Forest, aren't they? Who's that third
Yes, they
defeat?
are. Yes, maybe I did the script under Calpol and Daynurse.
We'll figure out who that third defeat was.
Yeah, sorry. They've lost 3 on the bounce, Fulham, Bournemouth, and somebody else, not Forest. So they are coming into this with a little bit of a dodgy run away from home. And obviously they had that away cup game against Exeter where they kind of had to bring on the big guns, the main players, and kind of didn't scrape through extra time, but it was a penalty shootout to get through to us. So away form, strong overall, but in recent weeks hasn't been that amazing. Have I padded enough now? Have you found out who it was?
Newcastle, 4-3.
Oh, Newcastle, right, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one on telly, wasn't it? It was a bit topsy-turvy. No, didn't Forest take the lead?
They were 4-1 up. Newcastle were 4-1 up. And, yeah.
But Forest won the second half. That's the real quiz. So 3 defeats on the trot. And some goals conceded in there too. So you're telling me there's a chance, Seb? That's my job here every week. It's written in the script for me to say that. But we've alluded to it. You've mentioned it briefly there. Last weekend, the kind of victory that, as you say, we love to see. We love to see teams socking it to the big guns, the top 6, the top 4, and they did that at home to Man City.
Yeah, 1-0 victory last time out. It was the early kickoff last Saturday. Really kind of game of contrasting styles, isn't it? You know, you've got the free-flowing football of Man City, the short passing that we've seen for so long, versus a side that's happy not to have the ball, that's going to try and hit you on the break and go long at times. So Forest came out on top in the end. A late goal, Callum Hudson-Odoi, we'll discuss him later, cutting in from the right-hand side onto his left foot and firing in the near post. I think Ederson should have done better with that one. He scored 7 minutes from time, and the stats, as I said, 31% possession. They're not bothered about having the ball. 0.73 xG to Man City's 0.86, 9 shots to Man City's 14, and this was quite a key one: 261 passes to Man City's 609. So just a kind of bit of a point that you don't always have to. You don't have to play the pretty football, the tiki taka stuff. Sometimes good old fashioned back to front quickly can get you the results. I was going to ask you a quick question. Obviously, we discussed briefly there about the FA Cup defeat, and they are through to Brighton in the quarterfinals. If you were a Forest fan, or if this was us, if we were third, 4 points clear of in the Champions League spaces, or would you rather win an FA Cup Champions League qualification or an FA Cup victory? I know what my answer would be. What would you go for? For me, it's not that you're making the face like it's a tough one. For me, I don't think that's a tough one. I would always want to see the FA Cup. Yeah.
Do you get Europe if you, ignoring where their league position is likely to be top 6 anyway?
You get Europa League if you win it. Yeah, you get the
I think that's a good combo. And as we say before, as our friends, feathered friends up the road know to their cost in the programme, high position finishes don't really amount to much when you look back over the decades of success. The trophy cabinet's a little bit bare. So I agree with you. FA Cup, let us know. Everyone's, I think, agreeing with us, or agreeing with you at least, Colin, win the FA Cup. AD FA Cup for me too. It feels like, a trophy for the end of the season would be good. And
imagine if they do, imagine if they finish in the top 5 and get Champions League. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, Man City are probably their biggest threat for the FA Cup, and they've beaten them last weekend. Imagine a season where they go from a couple of years of kind of scraping survival. You know, they took the points hit last year with the FFP breach. They get a bit lucky because the 3 sides, Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton, were really poor. So they survived last year with a pretty low bar. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, imagine the following year getting yourself a Champions League qualification finishing spot and winning the FA Cup. That's the stuff dreams are made of, isn't it?
I'm just quickly trying to multitask here. Have Forest played at the new Wembley?
Yeah, they won the playoff final, didn't they?
Did they?
When they got promoted. Fine. They beat Huddersfield 2-0.
Of course they did. Yep. Moving on. The boss, Nuno Espirito Santo, he's stumbled across something, hasn't he? He's probably a bit harshly sacked at Spurs, maybe, given what's happened since, and had a really great start with Wolves. Obviously, they recruited and spent quite a lot of money, didn't they, to establish themselves? But yeah, probably not a name on everyone's lips at Nottingham, maybe, when they were recruiting. And but yeah, he's done well, hasn't he?
It's funny to think back, isn't it? Because they sacked Steve Cooper, and it was kind of rumoured it was going to happen for a few weeks before it actually took place. And they found the owner, Marianakis' badge, didn't they, outside Craven Cottage? He'd thrown it away into a hedge in frustration or something. And the fans at the end of each game, especially the away games, were chanting for Steve Cooper, kind of almost as a goodbye, because they knew at some point the trigger was going to be pulled. And it seems crazy now, looking back, to think there were a few kind of dissenting voices when they got rid of him, because he was loved. He was universally loved by the Forest fans, because takes over in the Championship relegation zone, gets them to the Premier League. And yes, they were struggling with huge kind of turnover of players as well. But now you look back, 18 months or 15, not even that, 15 months later, the job Nuno's done is incredibly impressive. Took over in December 2000.
Wouldn't have been a name that many people would have linked with them, though. Well, it kind of disappeared out of the game a little bit. Maybe, as I say, maybe out of choice, but wasn't exactly, I'm not sure the bookies would have had him quite high unless they knew something. So it is interesting to see his resurgence, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he was away in Saudi, wasn't he? So leave Spurs. He only got 17 games in charge of Spurs. He joined them post Mourinho, before Conte, I think, didn't he? So he got very little time there whatsoever. Got fired, went out to Saudi for a bit, and then came back in at Forest. And yeah, the record: managed 57 games, won 24, drawn 12, lost 21. It's a 42% win rate. Obviously, that's very highly skewed, heavily skewed, this season. And obviously, we know him best from his time at Wolves. Took over when they were in the Championship, when the new money came in, took them to the Premier League, a couple of 7th place finishes, European football, built that kind of heavily Portuguese-based squad with, I can't remember, who was the super agent? Was it Nuno Mendes?
Jorge Mendes? I don't know.
Yeah,
Mendes.
something like that. The super agent who was involved, and moved on from there. And what a job he's doing. And I know traditionally Manager of the Year goes to the guy that wins the Premier League, and Arne Slot's done a brilliant job, coming in effortlessly from Jurgen Klopp, and what he's done at Liverpool is incredibly impressive. But for me, Nuno's got to be in the conversation, hasn't he? If Forest, with whatever their wage bill must be, probably something like mid-table, maybe 12th, 13th. If they finish in a Champions League spot, he's got to be pushing Arne Slot all the way for Manager of the Year, hasn't he?
Agreed. Yep, definitely agree with that. I've said something. Can you help me out, Seb? Paul here. Bless you, Richard, but you're wrong. I have no idea what I've said, Paul, or I could be wrong. But it's an occupational hazard with having a microphone in front of me and no script in front of my face. So or opinions.
I think it's not you. There's a chat between a couple of guys going on.
Oh, sorry. Well,
it's not you for once. They're not
paying attention to us.
Knowledge.
Who cares? We could be saying anything right now. Head-to-head records, Seb. Let's distract us back onto the matter of hand. Oh wow, doesn't look good. Blimey, Seb.
Aside, we've played a lot, obviously, from our Championship days. 22 wins for Town, 19 draws between the two, and 41 wins for Forest. Push you, as always, towards the excellent Blue Monday Rewind. Yeah, I've not heard it yet. It's my drive back to Suffolk Entertainment tomorrow night, so I've not tuned in this week yet. The last meeting in the Premier League was a 4-1 victory for Forest back in December 1994. The last meeting at Portman Road was a 1-1 draw in March 2019. As I'm sure Lambert said, we played really well as we slipped closer to the drop. Colin Quainer.
I do remember that one actually. Yeah, I don't know the lineup, but
I think Daryl Murphy played. He might have scored, maybe.
I think Daryl Murphy played. Yeah, agreed.
I've got no recollection of that. The last Town win over Forest at Portman Road was a 4-2 victory in December 2017. And after that result, we rose to 7th and we're only 3 points off the playoff spots. That's halfway through mixed last season, which you kind of, associate with kind of all the fallout that happened at the end. But it's,
and 4 goals scored.
At the halfway point, we were, scoring goals and obviously in touch with the playoffs. And here we go for Neil's favourite feature. Which one do you want? Do you want the 2019 relegation side, or do you want the 2017 free-flowing 4 goals scored footballing side?
I think we've done a 2018-19 one quite recently, so I might be able to just busk that a little bit. I have no memory of this 4-2, which I think is great value for the chat to slag me off. But also, this is an opportunity for Neil to earn his. I'm going to hide the comments for me, but I'm going to need some clues on this one.
Well, it's
2017. So is this the season of Garner and Waghorn?
It is, yeah. I didn't put the goal scorers in for obvious reasons. It looks like it's a 4-2-3-1, and it's the Garner Waghorn season, but only only one of those features.
Right. Okay. You're gonna tell me. I'm not gonna. I don't know. I guess
Martin Waghorn was the central striker. I think he scored and maybe got an assist or so.
Right.
But start from the back. The keeper's easy. Come on.
Bart in goal.
Knudsen left back.
Chambers.
Yep. No Chambers.
Is Scouse in there?
Scouse is in central midfield alongside a loanee from Everton who joined as a fullback and
Pennington.
No. He was a fullback and we repurposed him.
Callum Connolly.
There you go. Yep. So Scouse and Connolly, defensive base.
Connor and Callum, Limey. Give me some clues. Spence.
Yeah.
Spence is at right back, is he?
Yeah. You've got a right back playing out of position at centre. I think he's a centre half these days. Never gives the ball away.
I offer. Who we saw at Villa, of course. Yeah.
You got one more central defender, bought for 700 grand, sold for 3 million, and then went to the Premier League a year later for 20 odd.
Oh, Webster.
Adam Webster, yeah. So
let me go to the chat very briefly. Let's see if we've got anything in the chat. So
it's the 3 behind the striker you need now.
We've got a Selena from Neil.
Yep, Selena was left wing.
Mr. Brew as well. Is there a Brew in there?
No Brew.
We haven't got Barrett or Smith, have we?
Nope.
There's nothing else there. So give me some clues, mate.
Highly rated when we signed him from Spurs, scored a hat-trick on his debut. Grant Ward was right wing. Yep. And then
Sears?
on the graphic, he's in the number 10, but he's more of a central midfielder. If we can keep him fit, we've got half a chance of a good season.
Oh, blimey! I didn't pay attention to the first bit. Can you say it again?
If we keep him fit, we've got
No.
half a
What's
chance
the
of a good
position?
season.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, number 10, but central midfielder. I don't think he was a number 10. I think the graphic is wrong.
No.
Emma Hughes.
Emma Hughes. Wow, he played a game. Oh, so who scored in that one then?
Iorfa scored, Waghorn scored, I think Selena scored, and I've forgotten who the other one was. Okay. Professionalism.
Classic. So there you go. Careful what you wish for, everyone. Lineup quiz will be back for our next men's preview. But blimey, I couldn't tell you a single thing about that game. Wow. Was it midweeker?
No, it was a Saturday. No, Saturday just before Christmas.
Not a clue. Not a clue. More recently, Seb, I could probably name the lineup in this one. We were there, weren't we, at the City Ground? I kind of felt like we were like, this is kind of like a carbon copy of Palace. The goal was scored a little bit earlier than Palace, but I thought we were well in this game. They had a spell for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes in the second half where they were fully in control. But as soon as they got the goal, they shut up shop. Do you not feel it was kind of similar?
No, I thought it was a professional performance by Forest. I thought they kind of kept us at arm's length against Palace. You know, we did have a couple of chances last week. I can't really remember anything against Forest. I think they shut the game down well with their central defenders that we'll kind of discuss in a minute. But yeah, I thought it was a professional performance. I didn't think it was a great game, was it? Let's be honest. You know, it was a pretty drab affair, settled by a penalty after a foul on Jota Silva by Sami Šmodić. He kind of kicked down onto his foot, didn't he? It was a hard, yeah, I think so. Harsh penalty, but
home penalty.
Yeah, 1-0. It was at the Trent end as well, I think, wasn't it? 1-0. Forest, we didn't really lay a glove on them. And it was that horrible week that we referred to last week where it was Forest on the Saturday, who was in the midweek, Palace in midweek, obviously, and then Bournemouth at the weekend. So, yeah, it was a tough week at a tough time in the league.
Yeah. Let's move it on, shall we? We've got a Forest fan in the chat. Hello to Callum. Good luck for Saturday. Says, I thought you'd stay up. I think we'll fall short. Yeah. Let us know your thoughts on your aspirations for your team, Callum, and keep us on our keep us honest if we go wrong with our assessment. Hopefully it's even-handed. But welcome,
Callum. Would you rather win the FA? We discussed this earlier. Would you rather win the FA Cup or finish in the Champions League spaces? We both think that winning the FA Cup would be better. But let us know what you think, mate.
David W. Age Rich. Welcome to my world. No, it's just a crap era, David. I've got to make space for more important things than the Mick McCarthy, the latter end of the Mick McCarthy era. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. January business, not much to talk about, is there? Should we just go into the transfer recruitment more generally? Because I think I saw a chat earlier. You know, they did spend big money to kind of establish themselves, run the gauntlet with PSR or FFP as it was. But actually, if you drill into the specific deals themselves, which you've done here, there's some really good value they've got, isn't there?
Yeah, very much so. They were kind of derided a bit, weren't they, for that window where after they get promoted via the playoffs, an unexpected promotion. You know, Cooper takes over. They're in the bottom three. They beat Huddersfield at Wembley and they go up, and they have this 30-player kind of across I think it was the summer and the winter windows. The first year they're up, and it was 17 the following season. And you know, quite a lot of people taking the mick and stuff, saying, you know, Steve Cooper was just given players. They've got players who've never featured for the club. They've been out on loan after season. But when you look at some of the squad that's kind of doing the business for them now, some of the value is really, really impressive. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, a lot of kind of eyebrows were raised when they paid 30 million quid from him from Wolves. I think he'd been on loan somewhere in the Championship, hadn't he, the year before? 30 million quid now, that's looking like he's a 60, 70 million pound player. Nikola Milenkovic is phenomenal. Signed from Fiorentina, central defender, 12 million quid. Again, he's older, so you might struggle to recoup that much on him. But to get a battle-hardened centre-half who hits the ground running and makes the Premier League look effortless for 12 million quid is exceptional business. Chris Wood, you won't get any money back for him, but 15 million pound for an 18-goal Premier League striker is looking like sound business when they signed him from Newcastle. And then you get the really smart buys. Murillo came in for 10 million from Corinthians. Again, probably worth now, 60, 70, 75 million quid. Yeah, absolute beast of a player. I'll discuss in a minute. Matt Sells, the keeper, one of the best keepers in the league this season, was a £5 million buy from Strasbourg. Callum Hudson-Odoi, who was the next highly rated thing at Chelsea. I think Bayern Munich wanted him. They got him for 3 million quid from Chelsea, which is an absolute steal. And Ola Aina, the right back, was a free
FPL
transfer.
favourite.
FPL favourite, was a free transfer. So they've done some incredible business. I know they get a bit of stick and a bit of grief for all the players they signed, but some of the recruitment is incredibly impressive. And they're at a point now where if they were to sell for FFP reasons, they've got some real solid assets there that will recoup a lot of money for.
Yeah, good shout. Should we talk about how these players are used? We had a little bit of a technical issue last week, so do let us know, chat, whether this doesn't appear on your screens, but talk us through the system, Seb.
Yeah, so it's a 4-2-3-1, has been used 24 times. He's gone to 3 at the back twice. We all know from Forest, it's a very heavily counter-attacking side. They're the quickest in the league for getting the ball forward. This is how they lined up, and standard 4-2-3-1 against Man City last time out. If I do what I normally do, where I shift it then forward to the average player positions, it still kind of resembles similar. You've kind of got the obvious back four. Aina and Williams are the fullbacks. Milenkovic and Murillo kind of keep their shape. Gibbs-White does drop slightly deeper from the number 10 position to get onto the ball. Dominguez is kind of the defensive midfield screen. He kind of plugs the hole in between the right back and the centre half. They love to attack down the left-hand side. They are top of the league for attacks down the left flank. It's something like 45%. So it's no surprise to see Nico Williams linking up with Elliot Anderson and Callum Hudson-Odoi here. And what's interesting, I thought, with this graphic, Chris Wood, who you kind of associate with being the focal point, the striker whose job it is to hold the ball up and bring others into play, he's actually playing deeper than the two wingers, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, whose job it is to really get the ball up the pitch and get Forest rapidly moving. If I then shift it to where they took the most touches, you will see that left-hand side overload really come into effect. Yeah, Murillo steps up. Expect at some point in the game him to have a shot from kind of 30, 40 yards. It's kind of his party piece. Gibbs-White drops deep, presumably to pick the ball up off Milenkovic, off Sells, etc., and get them going. And that left-hand side, look, Elanga is technically a right winger, but he moves out to that side. This might be specific against Man City, but Hudson-Odoi, Anderson, Nico Williams, Murillo, they all like to link up on that side. The goal actually came when they swapped it round. Hudson-Odoi went over to the right and he cut in onto his left foot and beat Edison at the near post. But Chris Wood, although he's the focal point and kind of almost a back-to-goal striker, you kind of think of him as, his job is very much to hold that ball up, and it's the runners, the Elangas, the Hudson-Odois, the Andersons who will run past him and look to get on the ball.
Yeah, the chat, Mike here says a game we could do with Axel, obviously got injured at Forest.
Unfortunately,
for that right hand side, for those listening on podcast, 1, 2, 3, 5, even 6 with Wood notionally taken up, left-sided. Kind of, this is the heat map, right, Seb? So this is where they're touching the ball.
This is the touches of the ball. Yeah, like I said, they are very left flank heavy. 45% of attacks come down that side, which is the highest in the division.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. We'll mull on that. We've kind of already had a bash at our predicted starting 11 for Ipswich on the weekend. I hadn't really considered that when we did that, so we might have to revisit that. Emily, Forest fan here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you stay up when Wolves go down. We very much appreciate that sentiment. I think with another season, you can become a settled team and keep your good players. We appreciate that, Emily. Let us know. We've been debating whether you'd fancy Champions League or an FA Cup win. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know whether Callum replied on that one, but I think the prevailing logic is FA Cup, so we'll stick with that unless we hear otherwise. We've kind of talked through the key players, Seb. I'm conscious of your health, so I don't want to kind of go through chapter and verse on the names that we've talked about. We've obviously talked about Forest a couple of times already this season. Chris Wood, we know about. Probably 2 players that I'd ask you to give us more info about. Maybe not underrated, but under the radar in comparison to other names. Gibbs-White and Elliot Anderson.
Yeah, really strong in the central midfield position in the number 10. Gibbs-White, he can push deeper, like you saw in that graphic, to pick the ball up, but he's been starting as the 10 recently. 5 goals and 6 assists, 52 touches per game. Probably one that's going to get in the England squad again when it's announced tomorrow by Thomas Tuchel. Elliot Anderson, I think, is brilliant business. Signed from Newcastle last summer in kind of a PSR workaround, wasn't it? Newcastle had to sell, and Forest saw an opportunity to shift out the goalkeeper that wasn't really featuring for them and bring in Elliot Anderson. The numbers aren't exactly like Gibbs-White. They're not attractive numbers, only 1 goal and 5 assists, but the quality he brings to that central midfield position. He can play central, he can play left as well if need be. He seems to be a really, really excellent signing. Uncapped, so again, maybe one that could get into the England squad. I'll quickly mention Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Elanga. quick, direct, get the ball forward. 8 goals and 10 assists between them so far this season. Alanga in particular has created 39 chances. So that's where the majority of their threat will come from. I've mentioned Nikola Milenkovic and Murillo, incredibly strong, incredibly good in the air. If I remember rightly, they marshalled Delap really well at that City Ground game back in November. So he's going to have to come up with something a bit different because Murillo's quick, Milenkovic is strong, and aerially, they're both absolute beasts. And a shout out for Matt Sells, the keeper. 12 clean sheets, which is the best in the league, plus 3.7 in the goals prevented stats. So having an excellent season and another one of these kind of bargain buys.
And made the difference in the cup tie too. Thank you, Seb, for giving your insight on Forest. We'll be back after this to talk about Ipswich.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Thank you to Atwells. Thank you to our friends at One Stop Badges too. We are getting an extra supply finally of Blue Monday limited edition badges. Not so limited edition when the new supply comes in, but if you want badges or other keepsakes for your brand, charity, football podcast, then hit the link in the description, both here on the podcast and on YouTube, and get 10% off courtesy of our friends at One Stop Badges. In terms of business on the pod, usual stuff. We've talked about Blue Monday, everyone. Really excellent episode of that one. Something for everyone, I think. Some good eras covered in that one. Expecting Ben and Mikey to come back with some predictions on Friday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Flagship show back Sunday night, 8 p.m, live with Ben, Dave, and Joe talking about After the Fact. We've mentioned ITFC fans supporting food banks. Please do that. Also, heads up to Call Me Ted and their brilliant print for Saturday for Forest too. You can get that in the programme, I believe, and callmeted.co.uk is, I think, is their website, or on there on socials if you want to get yourself a copy of that too. And as always, if you want to give us a thumbs up, a subscribe, a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice, if you want to give us a review, we see those and we do love seeing those. And if you can quote Partridge or The Office in being positive and promoting us, maybe there's some Blue Monday merch in it for you. Maybe we should do something like that. Town then, Seb. And should we put up your starting is it your predicted or your expected lineup? What's
a bit of both? I mean,
how are we describing it? Bit of both.
Hashtag bit of both. We've got key injuries everywhere, so a lot of it is through necessity. Twanzaby's been mentioned in the chat. He would be absolutely ideal in this game, given the threat down Forest left-hand side. But unfortunately, he is going to be missing. Have you got the graphic to put on the screen?
Yeah,
it won't surprise people. I've kept
wonder,
it very similar to last weekend.
Do we go Ben Johnson, Seb, after what I think someone said it in the chat?
But we need to win. We need to win games, and that's the problem, isn't it? You know, Ben Johnson is great away from home. Have we ever seen him at Portman Road in that right-sided role? I'm not sure we have. He tends to come in for the away games, doesn't he? And we're at a stage now where we have to win games, which means that, you know, O'Shea will be the kind of right back / right centre half. Wolfenden was excellent, I thought, against Crystal Palace. So really happy to see him start again. I can see an argument for Cameron Burgess coming in to deal with Chris Wood's physicality and kind of aerial ability, but I think it will probably be Greaves and Davis as normal. I'm a bit worried about Alanga versus Davis. I know we've just shown the map that showed Alanga took a lot of touches in the left-hand channel, but he will start down the right and is rapid quick. So Leif Davis is going to have eyes in the back of his head. Phillips and Kiyus, central midfielders, no-brainer. I thought both were pretty decent against Palace. And then, as usual, it's the three behind the striker, isn't it, where we have kind of discussion points. So I've switched Philogene across to the left. I've put Jack Clark onto the bench. I've kept Enciso in the number 9 because he looks like that spark we might need at times. He looked decent against Palace. And I've brought Hutchinson back into the right-hand side role behind Delap. I understand what you're saying with Ben Johnson to try and shut down their right-hand side. I just think we need to start picking up wins because we are fast running out of time, and you've probably got a better chance of that with the likes of Hutchinson and Enciso and Philogene or Jack Clark or Broadhead playing behind Liam Delap. Yeah,
and then Enciso looked decent too, didn't he, despite coming back from injury. I think he's a player that we want to have on the pitch. And Amari too. And I agree with you. Jack Clark didn't really do enough, did he, to justify sticking her in the team. Philogene, we know, I think McKenna wants to play him in that left-sided role. So it is pretty attacking, isn't it? But I think, as the chat is saying, he censored it, so I put it up there. It's S or bust time for Neil. I think others have said that. Stevie mentions Johnson's set piece, delivery, the crossfield ball. Where was the crossfield ball? Was it Villa, wasn't it? That second half, Johnson had a good half, didn't he? But just doesn't work for him at home, has it? So maybe that's the way we go. Go on.
We've not really seen him, have we? Let's be fair. He tends to be an away player that comes in to try and sort of solidify us away from home. And yeah, he's got a great crossfield switch. He's got a great delivery. I just think that, you've got to score goals to win the games, and Hutchinson on the right-hand side probably gives you a better chance of that.
Yeah. We will finish with predictions, but we'll also take any questions you have for Seb or I. It might have to be me if Seb's flailing at the end there with tissues and sneezing and what have you. If you want any lineup thoughts, any other Forest thoughts, if Emily and Callum are still with us, let us know. But we've got to go there, unfortunately, once again, our FPL feature. I'm having lots of fun with this. Brett Vale sponsor our FPL feature. We appreciate them. As always, we had our nice little week of hot weather, really lovely, sunny. I don't know whether it was the same for you up where you are, Seb, but really nice weather. Got me thinking, I need to get the golf clubs out and get ready for the summer, and back to being freezing cold overnight. But the spring is coming, folks. The summer is after that too. And head to Brett Vale and have a round of golf in Constable Country, just 10 minutes down the road from Copdock Interchange. And they've got all kinds of offers. Membership fees are frozen. They run through all the way until March next year. And as always, if you quote Blue Monday or Rich's Crap at FPL, they'll give you £25 on your membership card to be used in the bar or in the pro shop. This week's FPL feature is sponsored by Linkin Park. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter, Seb. You've won the normal head-to-head by 1 point, and then the ITFC bonus by another point. And you didn't know how you did that. Do you want me to explain to the boys and girls why you won the week?
This is my favourite week of FPL. I mean, it's great beating you by 20 points, but to win it on this level of kind of shithousery is brilliant. And I didn't know how I did it, so you had to explain it to me. Would you like to explain how I beat you by 1 point in the normal game and a slightly higher margin in the ITFC point double thing? Go on, what happened? Explain it to me again.
Jaden Philogene won Seb the week, folks. And he won Seb the week doing, well, if I'm being harsh, not a great deal on the pitch, but he happened to play the first half. He happened to play enough of the second half to get a second half appearance bonus. And then whilst he was on the pitch, Ipswich didn't concede a goal. So he got a clean sheet bonus point as a midfielder, which is an absolute farce.
Well, that's a real thing. You get a point. It's just I never twigged that he would get one.
How's a midfielder getting the point? What's his contribution to the clean sheet? I ask you. No offence, Jaden Philogene, who I know loves not only the Blue Monday podcast, but our FPL feature. But yeah, you've won Seb the week. I hope you're proud of yourself. And Kieran McKenna, make your subs before the 60-minute mark. Otherwise, this is going to continue to happen to me. No, it isn't. I'm just going to get pumped every week in the stupid, godforsaken feature, which thankfully is reaching its denouement, so I don't have to talk about it.
Only 8 to go, my friend. Only 8 to go.
Oh, man. Is there not a midweek game in there too?
I've counted that. There's 9 games after the weekend, but Bournemouth's a midweek, so...
Sigh. We've both played a free hit this week because we've got some gaps in our team due to it's a blank game week because of the League Cup final. So 2 teams featuring in that, and 2 teams obviously sat at home twiddling their thumbs. Do you want to go first and talk through your changes to your team?
Yeah, can do. So I've taken out Van Dijk, bought in Tarkowski. They've got West Ham at home, and Everton are on a decent run of form. I've kept Guardiola, kept Gabriel, kept Raya. Jaden Philogene, who got me those excellent points last week, is still one of my ITFC.
He's not getting a clean sheet this week.
I'm sticking with Cole Palmer because I know the second I take him out of the fantasy lineup, he'll go and score a hat-trick, and I can't afford that to happen because I know you've got him. I've bought in Justin Kluivert because Bournemouth are playing. I could have bought in Semenyo, who I've put on the bench, but I've given Kluivert the starts. Bruno Fernandes has come in for Mo Salah. I've spent the Salah excess fee on Erling Haaland up front, who I've made captain. They've got Brighton at home. And I bought in, no, I kept Visa, sorry. Visa was the same. It's Semenyo going onto my bench. That's the other difference. So, yeah, I've played the free hit. And like next week, it will revert back to the normal kind of starting 11 with Liverpool players and stuff. So, a slightly different week. Have we copied each other?
Pretty much. We need to also, I mean, as much as I bemoan the narrowness of your victory last week, you did, out of respect to Ipswich Town, bench Ismail Sarr, didn't you? So you had, was it 11 points?
11 points he got, yeah.
So you've done it this week with Ina as well. So good on you. I was really close to putting some Forest players in the team, but frankly, it's damage limitation for me. So what's the point? I may as well just take the minor moral victory. I have gone for Haaland too. I've decided to give up on Cole Palmer. He'll come back into my team next week because it's a free hit. So basically, the squad resets, doesn't it? I already had Kluivert. I've added Alex Palmer. I quite like the idea of starting him, but I'm not gone for it. I thought Pickford, Everton, West Ham to me has got 0-0 written all over it. So I'm hoping Pickford does me some business. I had Gabriel, but I've added Guardiola, so sorry about that. I've had Kirkes, so I've kept with him. Fulham Spurs is a weird game. I don't know how that one would go. So I thought Son, having watched Son terrace and you won it last time we were at Portman Road, I kind of thought, well, maybe you might do it to Fulham. But Fernandes, Leicester away, I kind of feel some positive vibes about. Hopefully Man United will do us a favour and keep Leicester at bay. And I've gone for Semenyo. I thought I'd play him. Cresswell is my ex-ITFC link there, and I've got Davis and Delap in the team. Have I
and Palmer on the bench? You've got 4.
Palmer on the bench. Yeah.
You've gone above and beyond the need. Fair play to you.
Yeah. So and Strand Larsen, I was really close to going with Haaland. I would have had your confidence for captain if I thought he was in a rich vein of form, and Pep wouldn't do something stupid like, is it Marmoush or whatever the Egyptian striker is it? You never trust him, so I didn't put him as captain. But we shall come back. It'll be 2 weeks' time when we look back at this, and Jaden Philogene, farted and got Seb a bonus point that wins him the week. So we'll come back and find out. I haven't looked at the comments. If they're rude, I'm not putting them up. Give me your predictions for Ipswich Town versus Nottingham Forest. That's the real quiz. Let's talk about that. Anything about team lineups too, and any questions in the final kind of few minutes. Let's have some music. Let's distract ourselves from the stupidness that is FPL. I have to put that one up though. Fair play. Well done, Streaky. Yep. I will confiscate your Blue Monday badge though that I think I gave you. So consequences with that. Emily, I think, answered our question, Seb, in a really great way. She says Champions League. A lot of people I've spoken to would like the chance to compete and get the money for improved players, but why not both? And that is the spirit. Have your cake, Emily, and eat it too. That's what we love to see. Great answer for that one. What else have we got? Should we do predictions, Seb? We kind of let's start with what you and I have to say, and then we'll go to the chat and finish with them. I've got a weird, nagging, positive vibe in my head for no obvious reason. It's not worked out for me in FPL. And frankly, my predictions, I actually got Palace spot on. I said it would be a really close marginal game, and in one moment, a quality from Palace would win it. So maybe that bodes well for how I'm feeling. I think there's a 2-1 in it for us. There you go. I'm just saying it. You're not in the same boat.
No, I think we're going to lose 2-0. Sorry to pop the balloon there. You can keep the positivity. I think Forest at this point, the finish line is in sight. I think more than ever, perhaps this season, the first goal on Saturday is absolutely crucial. Yeah. If Forest do score first, we're in trouble, folks, because, defensively, they're absolutely excellent. So, yeah, I just think they will be professional. I think they'll get the job done. I think it might be a bit of a repeat of the last 2 games, the 1-1 cup draw and the 1-0 defeat at the City Ground. I can see it being a bit scrappy and a bit of a tight affair, but ultimately, I think 2-0 to Forest. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, we have got that recent muscle memory of playing them, but I'm not sure the FA Cup game counted for too much. But even so, a draw in 90 minutes away at Forest is not something too many teams have done this season. So we just got to go for it. It feels like your faith in Cole Palmer, so at some point something has to click. And usually it's a win against a team that's doing well. So who knows? Maybe Forest will be, they won't be. I'm just saying it. I'm clutching at straws here. Complacent after beating City that they have to play lowly Ipswich. But Michael's going for a 1-0 draw, but we really need to win, he says. Got a question from Colin. Do you, like me, think that Southampton will beat Wolves? I just do. Yeah, some interesting games down the bottom.
Yeah, no Kuna, is there? His second match of his
Kuna?
suspension.
Kuna?
What's it called?
Kahuna.
Cunha. Second
He's
match
ill,
of his
folks. He's ill.
suspension. Hopefully more to follow. I presume we'll hear about that in the next week or so, will we?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, anything at this point would be great. You know, I've kind of banked that and assumed that Wolves will pick up 3 points and move further ahead of us before that showdown at Portman Road in early April. But come on, Southampton, do us a favour.
Yeah, Kuna. I like that. That's who who's get him a 6-game ban. That's what we want. Calamar, resident Forest ban. Everything to win, Ipswich, everything to lose. Final result 1-1. He says. If it was a 1-1, Seb, what would your sentiment be for that? Sorry to keep asking you questions when you're ill.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid, unexpected point, but it's just not enough at this stage. We've got to start winning games, haven't we? You know, it'll be great to stop the rot, but are we still the only side not to win in the league in 2025?
Maybe
Bournemouth away to come. That no, they won us.
Like bloody beat us, didn't they?
Bournemouth
Keep
away.
mentioning this game.
You did this 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah,
I've erased
Bournemouth
it from my
away
memory.
to come, and then you've got this huge game against Wolves. And what you don't want is a scenario where Wolves are 9-12 points clear of us at that Portman Road game, because it ain't going to matter. So a draw would be, yep, great, well done. It would sum up the season. Not quite,
well done.
Not quite good enough. We have to start picking up 3 points.
This is how you talk to me when I score well in FPL but don't beat you. Well done, mate. Good job. Emily's going for a 1-1. Another Nottingham Forest fan with us. 1-1, even a 0-0. That'd be exciting. Seb's going to drive all the way down from Chester for a 0-0, but it's a point, Seb. Take it. A lot of love for Luke Litter in the chat. Not really paying attention to the darts. Hatch gone for a 1-1. Hasn't announced his affiliation, but that's fine. Hatch will go for a 1-1 draw. That's good. Reading Tractor 2-1. Finally a town win. Liking that. Mike D must win. I'll go 2-1. Here we go. Tim Donovan. I'm going for a town 2-1. It'll be tight, and for us to wonder how they lost, but we won't care. There you go. Neil, got to go with a 2-1 town. Oh man, the chat was very positive last week, and it didn't pan out. Have I picked the wrong side, Seb?
You've got to be positive. Come on, we've got 10 games to go. Let's try and bloody
Stevie.
a few. No, 4-3.
Stevie.
I would be astounded if this game finished 4-3, given the goal scoring.
Dominic Iolfa scores the winning goal. Yeah,
of both sides. Yeah,
Love
no,
that.
come on. Let's be. Yeah, you're all right. I'm the miserable bastard. Let's all be optimistic. We got 10 games to go. Let's try and bloody a few noses and try and go down swinging.
Let's give me something to watch match of the day for. Your namesake Seabass though, Seb. Forest to win 2-0. I think, Sally. There's no. That's a very logical scoreline, Seabass, so don't worry about that. Colin's going for a 1-0 town, though. And Callum, here we go. You are welcome, guys. Wish you well for the rest of the season. It's never over till it's over. That point deduction for Man City, Callum, that's what we're keeping our fingers crossed for. AG's going for a 1-0, but fearing a 2-1 loss. Horse Hollerer Town, 1, Forest 0, maybe. Richard, Ipswich 1, Forest 3. Sorry, you don't have to apologise. Seb has already gone there, so you're just following his logic. So there's nothing wrong with that. Callum would be happy with a 1 all away from home, as he says. Big game for Ipswich, he says. Every game's a big game now, isn't it? Streaky's going 2-0 for Town. Stevie says drawing 120 minutes, Rich. Yeah, I mean, I think that was maybe what I was talking about before, but
yeah, you said we drew in 90 minutes. I think at the cup game it was like 120, wasn't it?
In comparison, the reason for saying that is because league games aren't played over 120 minutes, so it's a 1-1 draw. That was the reason. That's my working, Stevie. Sorry about that one. Blackgate Media 2-1 win. We've given them 2 very tight games at their place. Our team shouldn't for this match. We'll get the ball again. They're not a possession side. Interesting thought there. David going for a 3-1. A Philogene hat trick. Can you imagine the scenes if Philogene, I would love it, but I'm banning. I'm not hosting the Prematch show. Philogene gets a hat trick and wins you FPL that week. That would just, oh man. Ancient Tractor we're going for a 3-1. Stevie, I'm drunk on blind up. We all are, mate. Don't worry about that. It's the hope that kills you, says Mike D. Lynn going for a 1-0. Neil, desperately need the first goal, please. We will do our absolute best. Emily mentioning Southampton win and beat Derby's record. Yeah. Would you want Southampton to get that record, Seb?
I don't care.
Okay.
Either way, I'm not bothered, to be honest with you. I guess how long? When was the derby on? 2007, wasn't it?
It's a while ago, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
Billy
it's been a
Davis.
long time. So
Little
yeah,
Paul
been a very
Bennett.
long time. So yeah, maybe what are they on now? 9 points. They'll beat that. They'll get 2 points before the end of the season, or 3 points before the end of the season, I would think.
Yeah, so there you go. We have done our best. I've tried to inject some positivity. Seb has added some, not only as usual, excellent research under the weather, folks, as well. If that's not worth a thumbs up before you say goodbye, or a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice, easy for me to say, then what is? We will be at the Greyhound, all being well. If Seb passes another late fitness test, we'll have some one-stop badges, just a few before our big envelope comes through the letterbox with a load more of them. Flagship show back Sunday night to talk about the game after the fact with Ben, Dave, and Joe. And thank you, everyone. If the chat has been very vibrant tonight, very interesting, some good debates and some interesting insights. Thank you to our friends from Nottingham Forest. If you're making the trip down to Portman Road, enjoy it. Apologies for the leg room, but it's not too dissimilar to maybe the City Ground in places as well. And yeah, Seb, I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, and I'll let you sign us off. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching.
I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm under the weather. Thank you, everyone, for getting involved. Come on, Jaden Philogene. Make sure I win FPL again. Come on, Ipswich. Like I say, let's go down swinging and bloody a few noses. And yeah, let's do ourselves proud over these last 10 games. Come on, you Blues.